of Catholics, and like it's a group of people. So we have these very different churches that follow different sects of Christianity as well. I would say the majority of Christians in Egypt would be Copts and Orthodox Christians. But like I said, they're the minority in comparison to the whole population. I think right now we're at 90 million Egyptians in the whole country of Egypt, not just Cairo. So we have like 26 different governorates. Cairo is the capital. Another very big city is Alexandria also. What else? Do you guys have more questions, or should I just okay, tell me.
What is the biggest difference between Egypt and the U.S.?
Okay, the biggest difference, that's a tricky one. Let me think about it. I mean, we have a lot of similarities. I mean, like I said, I've been to the U.S. a lot. We have a lot of similarities in terms of it. Okay, so there's one thing you kind of want to understand right now is that in Egypt, because it's a very large population, there are very different socioeconomic statuses. Like people who are from a lower income areas, people who are from a middle class or middle income areas, and people who are higher income areas. And the socioeconomic status kind of defines your customs and your traditions in a way. And some things are okay in that status, and some things aren't okay in another, and vice versa. So, I mean, I'm from a middle higher socioeconomic status, and I could talk to you about myself. I mean, I have not really engaged much because the country is kind of like segregated in a way, because I've been in private education and private school, private university. So these are the kinds of people that I interact with and hang out with, basically. You know what I mean? So I would be better able to speak of that socioeconomic status. So for example, what is something that's very common in terms of hobbies, like you would find a lot of people that like to read. You find a lot of people who are into sports. I mean, I'm very much into running. I go running every morning. Very much into music, pop culture, dancing. We go out at night, we go travel together. So we have all these like similarities between like doing all these fun stuff. What else? Major differences would be very traditional and cultural based. So for example, one thing that is flat out very different, like you guys or most of US students move out to the dorms in their university when they have to start their university, right? In Egypt, nobody does that. We stay with our parents because usually, I mean, in Cairo, there are the best universities in Cairo anyway, so you wouldn't really need to move to another city. So I mean, if you're just staying with your parents, I mean, might as well. It's easier. So we have a lot of people who come from Alexandria, which is the second biggest city in Egypt. We have a lot of students coming from there. We have other people coming from different places, and they come over here in our university and they stay in the dorms. We have one that's on campus, and we have one that's off campus, and that's very much downtown. So that's kind of like the only instance where people would move out for university purposes or for studying. But otherwise, both girls and guys would stay with their parents until it's time to get married and move out of the house to live with the husband or the wife in that new house. So I would say that's one of the big differences, or in tradition or in culture. For example, like handshakes are also very common between Egypt and the US. You would find girls, when they greet each other, they would hug and kiss, like one kiss on each cheek. Guys as well, when they meet, they don't just give a handshake. I mean, if they're good friends, if they had just met, obviously a handshake would be more appropriate, but sometimes when friends meet up with each other, they also give each other like a little hug or also kiss on either cheek. In terms of girls and guys greeting each other, because people are more, how do I want to say this? They're very modest and they're a bit traditional in their dealings with girls and guys together. Some people would not feel comfortable doing that, and that's fine, so a handshake would be okay in these situations. But I mean, with close friends and close family, I mean, a lot of people in my age group and in my society, it's fine if we just like greet each other. I mean, it's pretty cool. There aren't any of these problems. What else? What else? What else? Can you think of something that I might that would make it easier for me to think about differences or كده?
Do you all have any questions?
Is your all scenery different than ours, or is it pretty much the same?
Well, that depends on which state you are. So I haven't been to Kentucky, so you can tell me a little bit about your scenery, and I can tell you how ours is a bit different.
Well, we live in Somerset, and it's a small city in comparison to somewhere like New York City, but it's very small in comparison. What's our population, would you think?
58,000.
We have about 58,000 people in our city, but like where I lived previously, just 30 minutes away, the population was 16,000. So we are a very rural area.
Okay, so lots of greenery.
Yes, so I'm sure that yours is probably more comparable maybe to New York City, or is it a lot larger than that? Maybe that would help them to visualize.
It isn't exactly, because New York City is like tiny in comparison to Cairo. Okay. So we have a lot of rural cities as well, and over there you would find really green, really beautiful areas because our weather is not extreme in one way or another. Like, I know you guys might have heard that the Middle East is very hot, and that is absolutely true in some of the Arabian Gulf countries, like Saudi Arabia, like Kuwait, like Qatar, like these Bahrain. These areas are scorching hot. I mean, you have no idea. But here in Egypt or in Cairo, I mean, I think the hottest it's ever been, or around like 45 degrees Celsius, which is I think around 100 Fahrenheit. So it's not really hot, and it does not get really cold either. I mean, again, the coldest it could ever go is about 10 degrees Celsius. So this weather is actually really good for greenery. We don't really have that much rain, so that's why sometimes we would have more yellow and sandy and desert kind of areas than green, but that's in the urban places. In the rural places, you would find a lot of greenery. People would farm a lot. People would invest in having good planting machinery and techniques, and they're very big on agriculture and farming there. So that's probably why that difference would happen. In terms of, because that's only Cairo. I mean, if you think about the Sinai area, you guys know where Sinai is in Egypt? It's basically where the Red Sea is. Have you heard of the Red Sea? Yeah? Okay, so you have a lot of cities there that are called Sharm el-Sheikh and Gharda'a, that's called Hurghada in English. We have another place called Dahab. I could show you a couple of pictures. We have the Red Sea, so the scenery is beautiful there. You have the sea and the beach as well. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is one picture of the beach here. This is in Sharm el-Sheikh. These are very famous corals and coral life and underwater life. So snorkeling and diving are very popular and very common activities that we have. This is another photo. This is in Dahab. Okay, this is a very popular place over there in Dahab for divers. It's called the Blue Hole, and it's like very dangerous to go diving there, but it's also very exciting if you know what you're doing and if you're a safe diver and you take all the precautions. So it's a very famous diving site for divers in Egypt. And it's not just the beach that's beautiful around here, it's also the desert and the mountains are amazing. We have a rock climbing center in Sinai, in Dahab. So this is a photo of somebody rock climbing over there. The mountains are beautiful. Let me look for another couple of photos for mountains for you guys. So if you can see, some of these pictures are absolutely real. You would find wild camels. There were a couple of times I found I saw foxes. It's just beautiful around there. So these are literally, like, I was in Dahab about a couple of months ago, and this is probably one of, like, a very similar photo that I took with my own iPhone. It's like this one. So this is pretty cool in terms of scenery, because whenever we go on road trips, it really never gets boring, you know. So it's pretty cool. I could show you a couple of other photos for beaches around Sharm el-Sheikh. So you have this, and this is actually, like, honestly, I also took a very similar photo to this. It's not just Photoshop and it's not just Google Images. I promise it does look like that. I was just there, and this area over here, you see this lighthouse? It's a very famous lighthouse around there, and over here there's usually a lot of hotels around this coastline. Like over here you see these white buildings, this is a hotel. I was sitting at a very similar, like a hotel that's very close to this lighthouse area, and I literally took this same exact picture. I actually could show you on my phone so you can believe me. It's pretty amazing. So this is the kind of scenery. We have a lot of things. We have not as much greenery, because of the lack of rain and the lack of moisture. But when you take care of a certain land and you plant and have your land with agriculture and you focus on that, it's very possible. I mean, the weather does not make that very difficult. Okay, let me get you the photo. While I look for the photo, why don't you guys ask me something?
Your education system, like, how are the schools different from ours?
How is my school different from yours?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, so here's the photo.
It's neat.
This is in a place called Sharm el-Sheikh. Absolutely amazing. Just was there a few weeks ago, and the pretty cool thing about this is that it's really close. So it's like a 1 hour flight or a 5 hour road trip drive. And you practically don't really feel it because it's a really cool drive. What else? So the education system, yeah. We have, like I said, we have private and public schools, okay? The public education system is not like the US public education system. It's not very good. The curriculum is not designed well. The teachers are not trained well. It just tends to get a lot less importance because of lack of funding, right? And so public schools are automatically much better because they cost money to get the students into them, and obviously that helps with getting better teachers and more teachers and getting better books and better curricula and having better classrooms and technology and all that stuff. So the private schools are much better, and depending on the family's financial abilities, they would put their kids in the private schools that kind of like matches that. So you have a lot of different ones. I was from a private school. It wasn't like the best or the most expensive, but it was good enough. It got me into the best school in the best university in the region. I was okay. I mean, my GPA wasn't that bad, and I graduated well with my honors and everything. So it's just, private schools are much better. So that's one of the main differences, right, in our education systems. It also depends. We have private schools that follow the UK or the British education system, where they go to IGSE and these things, and we also do the American diploma. We have other schools that follow the American diploma, where we take the SATs, we study almost like the exact same way American systems work. We have a lot of different private schools that are language based. So we have French schools that are predominantly French, so you learn everything in French. You also learn English as well, very good English, but you, for example, take science, math, chemistry, everything in French. So these follow the French systems, of course, and the same goes for German. we have all these ones. We don't have, I think we have a Greek school as well, but it's not as popular. So this is one of the major differences. We have a lot of different things to choose from when it comes to schools and education.
Great.
Any other
Does
questions?
anyone have any other questions? Yes.
Yes?
He's asking about the time difference. So they
The
are
difference-
6 hours ahead of us. So what time is it there?
No, is it 6 or 9? 6? It's 5:15 in the afternoon.
Okay, it's 11:15 here in the morning.
So it's 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to the US, I mean, I lived in Canada for a while, right? I lived in Montreal. I did a study abroad program over there. I went there for about 6 months. When I came back, the jet lag was terrible. I stayed for about like 2 weeks, up all night in Egypt and asleep all day because that would be the time that I would be up in Canada. So my biological clock was pretty messed up at the time. And whenever I go on vacation in a far place, if, for example, if it's in the US or Malaysia or something, I mean, I come back and my jet lag is just upside down. So yeah, we're a totally different time zone. What else? This is exciting.
Yeah, you've been so informative. Thank you. What about like the crime rate and crime there? Is there a lot of violence? Because I know it's a large city, or we're always hearing things in the news about like. I think that's kind of what our students hear is just things like violence going on. So could you talk to them a little about that?
Yeah, well, one thing I have to tell you guys is that you honestly need to think about the things you hear on the news and kind of go and do your own research because it is sometimes, no, sorry, most of the time it is not what's going on in the magnitude. Like, for example, we have a very, very tiny incident where practically it could not even get mentioned on local news and it would be breaking news on CNN, for example. And if I go online, because I read the global news almost every day, as well as local news, obviously. And I mean, the things that are huge in the country and are related to major like policy reform or big changes that are really good, you would never even hear about them in global news, and you would only hear about a very small incident that happened somewhere in a city that is like not even, I wouldn't even know the name of. So I think that's one of the things you guys need to know. Crime rate is obviously, I mean, when you go to shady and sketchy and dodgy areas, it is probably unsafe. I mean, I think that's the case everywhere. You just don't go anywhere alone very late at night to a place that is secluded where there's really nobody around. I mean, I think that's pretty much everywhere. We have good security nowadays. It's good. It's a bit more stable than it was before after the revolution. Have you guys heard about the revolution?
I think some have, yeah.
There was a big Egyptian revolution in 2011 where the government was asked to step down and forming another government. So for the past while we've been doing okay, security has been okay. We were able to travel and go out and have no problems. I mean, when the revolution time was happening, we couldn't really go out as, not even just as girls, I mean, as girls or as a group of people, we couldn't go out at night and stay up late. Not that anything would ever happen, but it was just a sense of being safe, that's all. Being responsible about going out. So we couldn't really go out until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But that was, either way, that is pushing it wherever you are. That is still, you are staying out too late. That is a sense of being a bit unsafe in terms of your surroundings. So it's just a general kind of thing. Crime rates sometimes are high, sometimes are low. It's not a general rule. Generally, if you know where you're going and you're going with people that you know to places that are not shady or not dodgy, you should be fine. I mean, I think it's pretty safe. I mean, I have not I would find it a lot better to travel inside the country, and I would go to Sinai, I'd go rock climbing, I'd go to the beach, diving and snorkeling, and just like sitting around there, and really nothing would happen. So I think international media kind of magnifies the situation a lot more than they should. And sometimes I couldn't blame them because as far as they know, they don't have a lot of people here telling them what's actually happening. So I mean, just do your own back research when you encounter these things, I would say.
Okay. Any other?
What else?
I think this class is getting ready. What time do you go to lunch?
8 minutes ago.
Oh, this class has to leave for lunch, so they're gonna be. But what time did you have to leave?
Say that again.
Is it time for you to go as well?
I could go for about 5 more minutes if anybody has any questions.
I don't think, I tell you what, if they do, could I just email you or just write them down and we could
Sounds good.
do that? They're gonna go to lunch, but they have thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Bye.
And I just want to say, you will be an awesome educator. You are so great. I mean, you ride camel. Like, how many virtual tours have you done? I don't know, but maybe we have done like.
Yeah, why don't you guys pose for me? Awesome. Thank you. So what's your name?
Lauren?
Yeah.
Lauren.
Hi Lauren, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
She was one of those that stuck around for the whole time. I mean, I've got to know her name by now.
Yes, yes. Well, I will write down their questions. You are so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was so happy that you asked me to do this. I was super excited. I would love to do it again if you guys want to in other classes or in other grades. That could be great.
Yes. Let me know anytime that works for you because they would love it and our schedule would be more precise. So
sure.
Today is just
absolutely. I mean, and if you even want a certain time to dedicate to one kind of topic instead of, because this was like very broad.
Right.
But I kind of wanted to give you guys like a small intro to a lot of things. Right. Obviously, there's not enough time, and because the country is very different than Western countries, so there's like a lot of things that are different and a lot of things to learn. So
right.
if ever you kind of have anything specific you want to talk about, just like let me know and we could figure that out and talk specifically about that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have been awesome. I was so happy to be part of this, honestly, and I hope you guys learn. I mean, why don't you let me know later on if the kids actually did learn something interesting or didn't? Okay. I would honestly not be offended at all if they didn't learn anything, but I would just kind of want to know the things that would stick in their minds and the things they would remember later on. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. I will email you or talk with you on Skype, and we'll like have something. Maybe they could tell you what they did learn, or we could have like another
an activity or something that they get to apply the things that I talked to them about, where they talk about it or write something about it or like do any kind of discussion about it in class. I would honestly love to learn about that and know about it, and even like Skype in and just like hear you guys talk about it. That would be awesome for me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, for sure. Bye, Lauren.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. She was awesome. I loved her. She was good. So sweet. You better go get you some lunch.
I'm sorry. Where does this go?
This is fine. Let's keep it right here.
Do you need any help?
I'm good. You go eat, girl.
Thank you. Oh, good. I like that.
Yes. I think hers and Germany's I usually do them.
She was really good.
She's an educator.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell.
She was really good.
Like,
you know, well, I think she probably knew me more than like I even thought have her. You know what I mean? Like I would not have thought about sharing this screen, like, and you can tell she does things like that. So, but yeah, and she wants feedback. Yeah, she wants feedback. Like she's like, write something. Or what's another assignment? How much they learned. Like you can tell she's an education. You know.
So was she, they were out of school already?
She actually works at the university and she's going back for her master's.
Oh, okay.
So she went to a private school. Yeah, she's like a graduate class. I'm surprised that, like, I would have thought they would have been more violent. Like, I would have thought they would have been a lot of, like,
That's what everything, that's what you're great.
yeah, because, like, that's what I thought. I personally thought that. Like, I thought that, like, they had to all wear that pieces, and, like, I thought that they, like,
They're more modern ones than code for.
they are.
Everybody just thinks of every country besides ours being like,
Yeah.
living back in the latest stuff. And
And I told her, I said, it's like, you know, some people from, like, oh, right, they live in caves, or think we, like, you know, like, we're just, yeah, so I said, you know, I can see that, but, like, and she said they even have, like, she's like, I don't know, she, but,
I would always, no, well, they're really nice to you. They're also the pride on it.
yeah,
But then I think about those parents.
right.
That's the same thing. All those Clemens, Paris, Madrid, all those Berlin, all those students, they, I mean,
So, like, I
you
was
stay out of
thinking-
that, or if you just don't go late at night, it's not like that.
I would have been scared to death to go.
There's so many people around that you feel
Right.
comfortable saying.
Oh, yeah. Like, I would have never. I don't know.